Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on a fire pit on a budget. So right now I'm just putting the stake in the ground. It's going to be the center of the fire pit. We tied our string loosely around the stake and we're just going around with a can of spray paint at the end of that string, and that will give us a perfect circle. Now we got an edge cutter. We're just going around following the paint line of the circle, cutting the sod. Now while we're shoveling up the sod, we're going to dig down probably about 6 inches till we hit good solid gravel. We don't want to leave any topsoil behind that might cause issues down the road with growing weeds and growing grass up through our stones. So we want to dig down till we hit a good base of gravel to start with. Now we're just going to take our rake and smooth everything out. We're going to rake any big rocks up into a pile so we can shovel them in the wheelbarrow and get rid of those. Just going to kind of smooth everything up best we can by eye. Now we're digging our post for our pergola. We've got 6x6, 8-foot long hemlock. We're just going to dig down with our post hole diggers best we can. It's very rocky ground, so I was able to get down about 2 feet before I hit some really big stones, so that was the best I could do. You know, normally if you got good ground, you could usually try to get down 3 or 4 feet. Say if you're using a 6x6 post, you notice my holes here, they're not very big in diameter. I had to dig them probably twice that size because once you get your post in there, there's not a lot of room for concrete. So you want to make sure you have about twice the size of the post you're using so you can get lots of concrete around that post for stability. Now we're placing our posts in the ground. I just use 2x4s, one on each end for support, for leveling the post up. Works really good when you're working by yourself. So now the fun part, we're mixing up some concrete. This took, I believe, 7 bags of concrete, 35 or 30 kg bags. And I just put 2 bags at a time roughly in the wheelbarrow and added the water. I mixed it to a consistency of like a cake batter. Not too runny, but not too thick. Now there's different types of concrete you can use. There's some for post holes. There's a foam type material you can use instead of concrete. I just went with a quickset concrete and it worked just fine. Now as you can see, I'm getting lots of concrete around that post. So that's the main thing you want to watch for when you're digging those post holes. Make sure they're big enough in diameter that you can get lots of concrete for support. Make sure you fill the holes right up to the top and even out over the top a little bit, because your concrete is going to be buried with your material you're putting in your fireplace. It was extremely hot doing this project. I believe it was around 32 degrees and then 38 with the humidity. So popsicle tasted pretty good. We just picked up a few rolls of landscaping fabric and we're going to put that down before I lay my pavers for where the fire pit's going to sit. Now we've got some play sand, and you can pick this up at any hardware store by the bag. We're going to lay that play sand down just to give a nice base for the pavers. Play sand allows you to make any corrections when you're leveling up each paver. Try not to go too thick with your play sand. You only want to go about an inch, maybe 2 inches max. These pavers we're using are 12 inch by 12 inch, and they are called Mocha charcoal. We're making a 3 foot by 3 foot pad to set our fire pit on. We just measured off each side of the pavers out to the edge of the circle, so we made sure that our paver pad is centered to the circle. I just used a 3 foot level and a rubber mallet, just give each stone a tap to make sure everything's leveled up. Now I'm using a 2x6 by 12 foot, and we're just cutting the ends on a 45, leaving about a 1 inch space there at the end for a little design for the top of the pergola. My saw doesn't make a very clean cut, so I just grabbed some sandpaper and smoothed off all the edges that were cut. So now that we got our 2x6 cut, I'm just going to place them on top of the pergola. Where I'm just working by myself, you'll see me screw on the little pieces of 2x4, so it saves having somebody else hold one end up for you. Measuring from the top of the 6x6 down, making sure we've got true measurement from one end to the other, and then we'll put our 3 foot level on top and make sure everything's true. I'm using a 4 inch decking screw to fasten everything together. I'm putting 2 on each end. As you already seen, we already have everything all stained, so I'll be leaving a name of the stain in the description. Took about 12 hours for our concrete to set up. Now we can take our braces off, everything's good and solid. The pergola doesn't wobble at all. We just kind of picked a spot to put the 6x6 in the ground. There's no real design we went off of. We just decided to dig where we thought we would like it best, the pergola. And we went with the 6x6 distance. For each 6x6 we went 10 feet apart. That gave us about 1.5 feet or more overhang with our 12-foot 2x6 on top after they were cut. So here we're cutting some 2x4s. They're 2 feet long, and we have them angled and cut at a 45 on each end, and they will go along the top of the pergola, along top of the 2x6, just for design. We spaced them evenly apart and secured them down with some angle brackets. Again, we're just running the sandpaper over each end, smoothing everything up, makes everything look better. So now that we got our pavers down, we picked up some low profile plastic edging, and this goes along each 3-foot edge of the pavers, and we'll nail that down with some 12-inch spikes. You want to use steel spikes because the steel spikes will rust eventually, which will make the edges jagged and will be harder to pull out than a galvanized spike. Galvanized spikes will stay smooth, they won't rust, and they will not stay tight over the years compared to the steel spikes. Plastic edging comes in 7-foot lengths, and you cut it to whatever you need. So now we're going to lay more of our weed fabric down. We're going to cover that with some pea stone. The pea stone is a little bit smaller than the river stone in diameter, and you can pick that up. Usually your local contractor will have piles of that kicking around the yard, and he'll deliver it right to you. Now we're just going to use the rake and smooth out all the pea stone evenly. Spread everything out, trying to level it up best we can by eye. You might be asking yourself why I didn't use a plastic edging on the outside edge of the circle where it meets the sod. Well, our ground was so hard and so stiff that I didn't have to use anything at all. I was just able to butt the pea stone right up against the edge of the sod, and it worked out fine. Here we're just spreading out the odd wheelbarrow in some of the low spots, and just some final touch-ups before we finish. Now we did pick up 2 solar lanterns off Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. We're just screwing those, one on each 6x6. And we were fortunate enough that our parents give us this fire pit, this fireplace, and we were able to set that right on the 3-foot by 3-foot paver stones. Here I'm just using the hand tamper, going around, giving the pea stone a tap, light tap, help spread everything and even everything out. Then we grab our garden hose and spray off the pea stone, That cleans all the dust off, as you can see. Now all that's left is enjoy the evening and sitting by our fire pit. Hope you enjoy the video, everyone. Like I said, everything will be in the description below of all the tools and material we used. Thanks for watching.